Imagine this. It's the dead of night in a quiet suburban home. One by one, 6 family members are gunned down in their beds, shot while they slept, their bodies arranged face down as if in some twisted ritual. But what if the real horror wasn't the ghosts that supposedly haunted the house afterward, but the chilling confession from the killer himself? Once I started, I just couldn't stop. It went so fast. Welcome to the True Crime Report Cold Cases, where we dig into the shadows of infamous mysteries. Today we're unraveling the Amityville Horror Murders, the brutal 1974 slayings that inspired books, blockbuster films, and endless debates about evil in suburbia. Stick around and you'll learn the hard facts behind the legend, who really pulled the trigger, why the story exploded into supernatural myth, and the shocking controversies that still linger. By the end, you'll question everything you thought you knew about one of America's most infamous crime scenes. At the heart of this tale is a single burning question. Was the massacre at 112 Ocean Avenue purely the work of a troubled son, or did darker forces, human or otherwise, play a role? On November 13, 1974, in the sleepy town of Amityville, New York, Ronald DeFeo Jr., known as Butch, walked into a local bar in a panic, claiming his parents had been shot. What followed would expose a web of family tensions, a frantic cover-up, and claims of insanity that didn't hold up in court. But as we'll break down step by step, the real enigma isn't just the killings. It's how a solved murder case morphed into a haunted house saga that sold millions of books and spawned over 20 horror films. Let's start at the beginning with a family that seemed ordinary, until it wasn't. Ronald DeFeo Sr. and his wife Louise had built what looked like the American dream in their Dutch colonial home at 112 Ocean Avenue, a 5-bedroom house on a canal, bought back in 1965. They raised 6 kids, Butch, the eldest, at 23, his sister Dawn, 18, Allison, 13, Mark, 12, and the youngest, John, just 9. But beneath the surface, tensions simmered. Butch, the lone survivor, later described a volatile relationship with his father, a strict, successful businessman who allegedly clashed with his son over everything from jobs to drugs. Butch had a history of petty crime, including theft, and was on probation. He worked for his dad but reportedly resented the pressure. Whispers of heroin and LSD use floated around Butch, painting a picture of a young man spiraling. Butch would later claim in interviews that he had heard voices urging him to kill his family, but these claims would fluctuate over time. Yet, on the surface, the DeFeos were just another Long Island family. That illusion shattered around 3 a.m. on November 13th. But how? We'll get to the bodies next. But first, picture this. A rifle hidden in plain sight and a killer who went to work like it was any other day. Fast forward to that fateful evening. Around 6:30 p.m., Butch bursts into Henry's bar, just blocks from home, shouting, "You got to help me. I think my mother and father are shot." A small group, including his friend Joe Yeswit, rushes to the house. Inside, horror unfolds. Ronald Sr. and Louise lie dead in the master bedroom, each shot twice with a .35 caliber Marlin 336C lever-action rifle. Upstairs, the siblings, Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John, are found in their beds, each killed with a single shot. All 6 victims were lying face down as if they'd never woken up. Autopsies suggested the parents might have stirred. Louise and Allison showed signs they could have been awake, but there was no evidence of a struggle anywhere. No sedatives in their systems, no signs the rifle was silenced. The Suffolk County Police pegged the time around 3 a.m., just hours before Butch claims he took a bath, changed clothes, ditched the bloody evidence in a canal, and headed to his job like nothing happened. He even suggested to cops it was a mob hit by some guy named Louis Fellini. But Fellini had an ironclad alibi. He was out of state. As the group called 911 and police swarmed the scene, Butch was whisked to the station for his protection. That's when the cracks in his story started showing. And trust me, what he confessed next would chill you to the bone. Under interrogation the next day, Butch's facade crumbled. He admitted it all. He alone carried out the shootings, starting with his parents, then methodically moving room to room. "Once I started, I just couldn't stop," he told detectives. "It went so fast." Butch would later say that he was hearing voices during the killings, which he claimed urged him to continue. These voices were a key part of his initial defense. No accomplices, no mob. Just him, the rifle, and a motive that remains murky to this day. Prosecutors later speculated it tied to his father's life insurance policy. Butch even asked cops how to collect on it. But here's the gut punch. The family was buried together in St. Charles Cemetery, while Butch, the eldest and only survivor, faced trial. His initial insanity defense claimed blackouts from drugs, backed by a psychiatrist who said he had no memory of the act. The prosecution's expert countered. Butch knew exactly what he was doing, driven by antisocial personality disorder. On November 21, 1975, after a trial that shocked Suffolk County, where the judge called it the most heinous murders since the county's founding, Butch was convicted on 6 counts of second-degree murder. Sentenced to 6 concurrent 25-to-life terms, he spent decades at Sullivan Correctional Facility, all appeals denied. But even after conviction, Butch's stories kept twisting, like a bad horror sequel. In the 1980s, he alleged his sister Dawn started it all, killing their dad in a fight with their mom, finishing the kids before he stopped her. He even claimed a secret marriage and an alibi witness who, it turned out, didn't exist. Courts dismissed it as incredible and not worthy of belief. And in 2000, he reportedly told an author he'd done it with Dawn and 2 friends to thwart his parents' supposed plot against him, citing gunpowder on Dawn's nightgown as proof she fired a shot. Experts debunked that. It just meant she was near the muzzle, not pulling the trigger. No struggle marks on her body either. These flip-flopping tales? They scream desperation or deflection. But they set the stage for the supernatural spin that turned tragedy into legend. Now enter the Lutzes, George and Kathy, newlyweds with her 3 kids, Daniel 9, Christopher 7, and Melissa 5, plus their dog Harry. In December 1975, just 13 months after the murders, they snagged the house for a steal at $80,000, furniture included. A realtor warns them of the killings, but they brush it off. A priest friend, Father Ralph Pecoraro, Father Mancuso in the book, blesses the place on move-in day. Legend says a demonic voice snarls, "Get out." And the priest later gets feverish blisters like stigmata. The Lutzes claim 28 days of terror. Swarms of flies in winter, slime oozing from walls, levitating beds, even a little girl ghost named Jody. By January 14, 1976, they flee, leaving everything behind. Enter Jay Anson, who turns their 45 hours of tapes into the 1977 bestseller, The Amityville Horror, selling 10 million copies and launching a film empire. But was it real, or a hoax? We'll peel back the layers next. Skeptics pounced early. Neighbors saw nothing weird during the Lutzes' stay. No police calls despite the book claiming otherwise. Later owners like James and Barbara Cromarty, who lived there a decade starting in 1977, reported 0 hauntings, just nosy tourists. They debunked cloven hoof prints in the snow. No snow that day, and the infamous Red Room basement closet as mundane. Additionally, the Lutzes' claims about the paranormal events, including the demonic voice and the strange behavior of the priest, Father Ralph Pecoraro, were challenged. Pecoraro later swore under oath that he never visited the house and only spoke to the Lutzes by phone. Father Pecoraro himself swore in court that he never visited the house, contrary to the Lutzes' claims. He only spoke to them by phone, and he later disputed their account of a demonic voice warning them to get out. And the bombshell? DeFeo's lawyer William Weber admitted in 1979, "I know this book is a hoax. We created this horror story over many bottles of wine, plotting it with the Lutzes for fame and fortune." This admission would later fuel the belief that the entire Amityville horror story was fabricated for publicity. Lawsuits flew. The Lutzes sued Weber and others for invasion of privacy. He countersued for millions. Courts tossed most claims, with one judge slamming the ethics of it all. The Lutzes passed polygraphs saying it was mostly true, but experts call those tests unreliable. Demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren investigated in '76, snapping infrared photos of a demonic boy, but that's contested too. Fast forward. Butch died in prison on March 12, 2021 at 69, cause undisclosed. George Lutz passed in 2006 from heart disease. Kathy in 2004 from emphysema. The house, renumbered to 108 to deter gawkers, and the windows were altered to remove the distinctive evil eyes look that had become part of the legend. Amityville locals still cringe at the stigma. Yet the myth endures. Over 20 films from the 1979 classic with James Brolin to schlocky direct-to-video sequels. It's a reminder. True crime often blurs into fiction, but the real victims? 6 innocents gunned down in their sleep. So, what drives a son to slaughter his family? Financial gain? Rage? Or something unspoken in that fractured home? The Amityville murders aren't a cold case. Butch DeFeo was convicted for it. But the why, and the haunting hype? Those mysteries linger, fueling debates to this day. While the murders were solved, the truth behind the supernatural claims remains highly controversial. We've sifted facts from fiction. No ghosts proven, just a hoax admitted by insiders. But the human horror? Undeniably real, even if the supernatural elements were proven to be a hoax. What do you think? Was Butch's confession the full truth, or are his wild stories hiding more? Drop your theories in the comments below. If this chilled you, smash that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into America's darkest tales, and hit the bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for joining the True Crime Report Cold Cases. For more spine-tingling stories from the stars and stripes, like the Zodiac's unsolved ciphers or the Black Dahlia's Hollywood nightmare, head straight to our True Crimes in America playlist right here. It's packed with hours of gripping narration on cases that gripped a nation. Until next time, stay curious and lock your doors. Sweet dreams.